So in this video, I want to explain how to make this. Let me play. And it is going to be this shuffle puzzle or sliding grid puzzle, where you basically have to complete this puzzle. There would obviously be no numbers, but for the testing purposes, there are number written around here. And obviously you would be able to solve it. I'm not going to solve it right now. And I also show how to create your own puzzle, because not every combination is possible. It needs to have certain combinations so that it's solvable. It's very easy to do. It's basically you shuffle it first, then you save the numbers, and then you make it look like it's shuffled later. I'll explain a bit later. And it is actually available in my Patreon. If you go to my Patreon, you could see in minigame collection, you would be able to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I'll also add few more later. Right now I'm just making them, and in future I will be making it for free on Fab Marketplace. So on my Fab I will make it for free. So I already have like stylus, grass, and also all of this stuff. But if you want to get it early, you can get it from my Patreon from here. And you can also visit my website to get some resources. You could see, you could go in here and you will find all the tutorials. So how to create the fortune wheel, how to create the high or low mini game, lucky picker, and then also this new shuffling one, then match 2, and then as I make more, I will keep adding it in here. And also I do have some textures on my website too. You could see, you could get it for free, all made by me. So yeah, let's get started. Again, I already created videos for this previous one, so you could also check that. So I just created a new world. I also keep this open so that I can reference it. So first thing first, you can actually use this same logic to make a UI instead of creating it in the world. So it's up to you whether you want to have it in the world or you want to show it on the screen with, your cursor clicking. So the logic is going to be the same. So I'm going to explain the logic and I'm going to put it in the world, but rest is up to you. So let me create a blueprint folder too. So I'm not naming it perfectly because it's my tutorial folder. So first of all, we'll create a blueprint actor and I'll call it as grid puzzle, DUT grid puzzle. Okay, let's open this. And in here, I'm going to add my widget. So in UI, we'll go and create a widget. Also, when I'm recording my Unreal Engine bugs like this lots of the time, I don't understand why. So I have to minimize it once. So ignore if I keep minimizing if it lags. DUT grid puzzle. Okay, so this is UI widget blueprints. Let's open this. First thing first, we'll add a canvas panel in here. Then we will add our grid panel. So grid panel in here, and if you go in here and you can press this, but if you press Control and Shift, you could see Control and Shift and then click, it basically places it in center perfectly. So let's do is compile it. I'm also going to do is I'm going to do size to content. So it turns to whatever the size is inside of it. I don't know if it works in runtime. So when you click in runtime, if it works and changes it to size to content, but let's see. I've done it as size to content in my original one. So let's just keep this one too, and let's call it as grid puzzle. Okay, and make sure it's a variable so that we can use our graph panel here. Now inside of our grid puzzle, we need to have our cards, right? So instead of creating the cards here, we will create another widget which is going to be just our widget blueprint for one card, so that we can reuse it again and again. So if you go in here and do WBP TUT image, you can name it anything. Okay, we'll do this, and I will add a size box. And again, you can do it however you want it to. Okay, you don't have to follow these steps. Same. So in our size box, we'll add our overlay. Again, it's up to you how you want to do it. And here I will add my image. And then I'm also going to add a text so that we can use it to debug. Before doing this, I forgot to do one thing. Let's remove this. Our image, we'll basically wrap it with a button. So in case sometimes you forget to drag it in order, you could just right click and wrap something, and that way it creates stuff. And then in our overlay, I'm just going to add my text like this. So what I'm basically doing is that let me hide the text first. So that button is clickable, we add button and then image in here, and then text around here, which is just for the debug purposes. Now it looks a bit weird, right? So let's click on button. Let's go to style, and let's make sure everything here is 0. And then let's go to the image and make sure everything here is 0. That way it takes no space, but there's a button in here. Now let's make this visible, our text. And I'm going to make it center, center, center like this. And turn this into, I guess, 12. Let's turn this into a number like 0. Let's do black. Okay. This is just for debug purposes. So let's name everything so nicely. So our button needs to be btn image. Let's do is variable because we want it to be clickable. Our image needs to be also, let's call it img puzzle or whatever. I'm just quickly going to name it anything. Okay. Text underscore debug. Okay. And is variable because we want to control it. Now if we go to our grid puzzle, and if we take our tutorial image and add it into our grid, you would see we added it in here. Okay. Now it's like very small right now. So let's go to our back to our WP in here, go to image puzzle, in brush image size, let's turn this to 100 by 100. Okay. Let's also increase the text size then. Okay. Now it looks a bit better. Now if you press Ctrl D to duplicate, you could say it turns into 2 and then we can move it like this. Okay. I'm doing Ctrl D and moving it like this. So 3 by 3, but we can actually choose like any size we want. Right now, this is not how we are going to add it. We are going to add it dynamically, but this is for testing purposes so that we can go to our blueprint. Here we can add our widget like this. Go to the widget section in user interface. In here, we'll search for WPP TUT grid puzzle. Now you could see it is visible for me, but in case for you guys it's not visible, maybe because it's like small or something like this, the size is small, then make sure you make the size big enough that it fits inside. And this is how it looks. Now obviously we want gaps in here, right? But we will add it later via our code, and it's up to you whether you want to keep the gap or not. Okay, so right now it is visible, and then once it's visible we can basically just start removing it. Okay, so we are going to keep this empty, and let's go to a graph, and here we are going to start doing some stuff. So first thing is we will create a custom event and call it like create images, something like this. And let's do create images. So on construction, we'll basically do create images. So some variables that is required is total grid size. This is going to be integer. So how big your grid is going to be? Is it going to be 3 by 3? Is it going to be 5 by 5? And whatever it is, right now it is 3 by 3. So how many we have? We have 9. So total grid size is 9 because we have 9 grids or 9 grid elements. So we'll take our total grid size to for loop, not each, just for loop. For loop, and because we have 9 elements, we need to do 9 times our images. So we have to create those images 9 times. But because it starts from 0, we actually need to do -1 in here. Okay. And then let's do last index. So it will start from 0 and then last number would be 8. So that way we will have 9 of them. Let's promote this to current index. Let's do loop body. Then we'll do create widget like this. And we'll start creating our TUT images. Then we will do is promote this, and let's call this as WBP images. The only reason we are promoting this is because we needed a variable in here. So if we right click here, we get an array, or you could just choose here, and we'll do add, because we will need a reference of our array. And the reason why I'm using array is because it's easier to check this way instead of, at first what I tried was I decided to have a number when I tried to make it first, which would be like total correct locations. to check whether all the images are at the right location, and whenever an image goes to like wrong location it will do -1, whenever it goes to right location it will do +1. And when I tried to do that it turned a bit complicated, which is why using a loop for just this array would be a lot easier. So make sure to just do this way. Okay, now let's take our grid puzzle. Remember we created variable for that. We'll do add child to grid like this. Who do we want to add? We want to add this thing. So let's just make it look a bit nicer. But how do we get the in row and columns? So for example, when we added our images like this in here, you could see that the row and column says 0, 0. If I duplicate it and I take the second one in here, it says 0, 1. So in a grid, we have, columns and rows, right? Like this. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is 0, 1, 2, 3, like this. So when it is 0, 0, it's in here. Okay, these are rows and these are columns. Okay, my pen stopped working, graphics pen, which is why I'm using my mouse. Okay, so ignore the bad drawings. If the row is 0 and column is 1, it would be around here. And if row is 2 and this is 1, then it would be around here. So how do we get it via our, just while making this? So one thing is we know what our current index is. So it will go from 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So what we simply need is we want our index to be 0, 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5, 6, 7. Not like this is 4 by 4, right? For 3 it would be just 3, 4, 5 like this. Okay, 7, 8. Okay, so how can we do that? Well, there's a very simple formula which I actually looked into, like ChatGPT. I asked it, and so we can take our current index, and if we divide it by the total columns that are required, we get the row. If we do modulus, we get column. But we are going to need this formula again and again, which is why let's create our function and let's turn this to index to row. Let's name it index to row. Okay, and here we'll create index, like variable called index, integer, and we can do output. That way it creates return node, or you could just search for return and it can also create return node. And this one would be row. So if we take this and do divide by the row, but what should we divide by? We need the total column number. So let's create a variable total column number. Let's turn this integer and make sure it's not an array, and let's add it in here. So how many rows do we have in a 3 by 3? Okay, so in a 3 by 3 grid, which is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like this. So the rows are these ones. Okay, so these are rows. So we have 3. So in the total column number, we will have 3. Let's duplicate this and let's call it index to column. And this one, we will basically take this and we'll do modulus, connect it here, and let's name it column. Okay, modulus is like very basic operation, which is, let me delete this. If we do 2 modulus 3, it's same as writing as 3, 2, like this. So 2 times 1 is 2, the remainder is 1, so the answer would be 1. Do you guys understand? If we do 2 modulus 2, so if we do 2 modulus 2, it would be 2 times 2, 0. Okay, and you could try doing with our index. So try calculating yourself by doing 0 divided by total column number. So 0 divided by total column number would give us row. Then try calculating 1 divided by 3, 2 divided by 3, like this, and see what if it actually turns to row or column. It's very basic formula. And the problem is I don't want these options, right, to create pins. So there's no need for it. So if I click on it, if we go in it and we turn this to pure like this, it turns to pure with like no pins. Okay, execution pins. So let's take this, and now we can just reuse it again and again. So let's take our current index and add it in here. So row and column. So right now we haven't done much. We are basically just looping this, creating another widget and adding it to our grid at certain locations. So let's see by adding this in the world if it works or not. I think it's flipped. Yeah. And you could say it's working perfectly. Guess what would happen if I turn the total column to 4? You could see this is how it turned. It turned into 4 columns. So I hope you guys understand it, that just by doing this 5, just turning total columns to 5 and turning this to 25, you'll have 5 by 5 grid. And then we will take this one, child, and do set padding. Set padding, this would have a structure. So let's do make margin, and I'm going to add 2. Okay. So now if I do play, we have a margin in here. Again, optional, how much you want. But you could say everyone it says 0, 0, 0. Everywhere it says 0, 0, 0. So how about we start doing some stuff in here? Okay, so let's go to graph in our tutorial image. Let's create an event in here, custom image, and call it set image data. Okay. So take our img puzzle, so image, make sure these are all variables set in here, okay, else it would not show on the left side. Let's do set brush from texture. Let's add it in here so that we will have an image. We'll also create an order index in here, order index, so which order we are in. Let's do alt. If you drag this, you get 2 options, right? If you press control, you get get. If you do alt, you get set. So a bit shortcut to do that. Then add it like this. Now order index is basically which order you are in. So are you in which index you are in? So for example, this grid would be at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one would be at 4. And every time this image is changed around here, then it would turn to 5. So wherever it turns, it will basically change the order index. But we also need one more variable, which is going to be called correct index. So which location it has to be in. So let's create another variable and let's call this as correct index. I hope you understand order index is basically in which index it is in, and correct index is which it should be in so that it is considered as correct. So let's drag this and let's add it in here. So for now, let's just keep this much so that we can actually see if we are doing perfectly or not, instead of, just doing every single step. I like to take like one step at a time, because all the tutorials online just go like completely, that they'll make everything, but then it's confusing whether it's working, how did it work and all. So let me know if you want anything to be changed or updated in my tutorial style, tutorial making style. Let's do set image data, because we created this image, right, tutorial image. So whatever event we create in here, we will have this option. So what should be the order index? Well, the current index. Let's give it current index. But now I actually need a texture and a correct index. So how can we get that? Well, for that, the best way is to create a structure. So if you guys don't know what structure is, it's basically collection of variables. Okay, so let me show you. So if you search for structure, let's do st tut image data, something like this. If you double click on it, you see it opens new panel, and all there is a variables. So all there are is variables. So instead of creating variables in here, lots of variable, we can actually use this structure. So the first one would be the image, which would basically be texture 2D object reference, and then next would be the correct index. So with this image needs to be at which index so that it is considered correct. Now let's close this. If you go to our tutorial grid puzzle and then search for st, let's name it first and then search for st image data, we get this. Okay, now you could see that we have option in here called image and correct index. Now the best part is, if you turn this into an array and compile it, we can now have multiple images set in here. Now obviously there are multiple ways, like you could create a data table. I guess data table is the only second way I know about, or create like image, what you call, image array, but then it would be hard to sync it. But this way it's the best because we have image and correct index in one single area. And let's add 9 of them. So you could see 9 of them. So I have these images that I basically went online. There's like websites which allow you to turn an image into grid sections, like divided by grid 9 or 9 pieces of images in like equal shapes. You could do that, and that way we get these images. And all we need to do is go in here and do one by one. Okay, so add the first image, add the second image, but this time it needs to be 1, and we are doing it in right order. Okay, do not do random. And you could see I added all the images in order and also changed the correct index to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you could see we got this stuff. Let's close, let's save this. In here, let's drag our st image. Let's do get a copy. Which one we want? We want the current index. And if we take a structure and we do break, we can get all the variables. So we will get the data from the correct index, and the image would be this and the correct index would be this. Now if I do play, we get the full image like this. Perfect, right? In here, in our image, I will do custom image, show debug text, create a variable, and here we'll call it as order question mark. Let's do a branch, and we'll take our debug text and do set text. So if it's true, I want to show the order index. Okay. And if it's false, I want to show the correct index. Let's do false. That way we can actually debug both of them if you want to see the correct index or ordered index. And here let's do show debug text, and I want to show the order. Now if I do play, we get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now one thing is, right now we are seeing all images, but we want one of it to be empty, right? So let's go to our grid puzzle. Let's create in here and let's call it as empty image index, or just empty index would have been enough. And let's compile it. So if I turn this to, let's say, 3, if I turn this to 3, I want the image in the index 3 to be hidden. So what we will do is, before this loop, we will go in here, we'll take our empty image index and we'll do equal to, let's check this, do a branch. Okay, let's move this a bit back. Let's disconnect this. So if it's false, that it is not equal to our empty index, then only we will move forward. Do you guys understand? That this index 1, if it's same, then we don't want to do anything. So if I do play now, you could see we got the third index to be empty. Now let's start creating a event which would be for our move images. So we'll start moving our images. Now this event should be run by our image 1. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, remember we turn this into a button. So if we go to a graph, click this button, and when we click on it, I want to run this event, which is move image. But how do I send the message from this one to a grid puzzle? Well, it's very simple. We'll create a variable in here for our grid puzzle, which would be referenced as this one. And it's okay to use it because it's going to create a casting, but it's totally okay for this type of effect where they're already dependent on each other, because without one the second one cannot exist, and it's already going to be in our RAM, basically our memory, so it's okay to create casting like this. Now if we take this grid puzzle we can just do move images like this. So when we are clicked, we can basically do move images, but this one doesn't know which one this is actually. So if we go back, when we create it, you can create another in here called set image data, or you could create like another reference like this. And here we will do is set WBP like this, because this is image like IMG, not IMG, like tutorial image WBP. So whatever is in here, we can actually get referenced from here pretty easily. And we'll tell that we are the one that you need to send the message called move image. So now this one we already sent, we are setting it from here that we are the one that is going to be which would be the manager basically. Now when we move images, we actually need to get the reference of which image was clicked. So in here we need to create two variables. So let's create two. This one would be like the image type of TOT image, and this one would be the order index, so at which order it is in. So now you could see as soon as we created this, it updated in here. So the image would be self, so we are the one that is self. Maybe don't call it image, something else would be better. And the order index would be like this order I am in. So when you click this button, it basically tells the manager, which is this one, that hey, I am the one that was clicked and this is my order index. Let's promote this and do like clicked image. Let's promote this and do clicked index. So we got two index like this. So this is like the next day for me recording because I had some work to do. So let's hope I remember where I was. After this, we have to move the image to the blank space. So for example, we can only move the images like this one, and this one. Obviously we cannot move this one, this one, this one, this one. So how can we get which images are one space away from us or one space away from the blank spot? So there's a formula that I actually asked ChatGPT and it gave me. It's very basic formula. So let me copy it around here. You could say this is like very simple formula. It's actually good to understand how these formulas look and how to convert it into Unreal Engine, because lots of the time you will just get like really cool formulas like this and then all you have to do is to convert it into Unreal Engine. And here you could see I've written a formula to check if clicked image is one slot apart. And in a grid area, we can actually use this formula to get if it's one slot apart, two slots apart, or how many it is. So let's check this. So absolute of clicked row minus empty row. And row obviously means like which row it is in, like which number row it is in. So let's get the clicked row first. So if we take the clicked index, okay, because you need a clicked row, and we turn this into row, we get the clicked row. Okay, then we need the empty row. So if we take the empty image index and we turn this into index to row, we get the empty row. We have to do minus of it, so clicked index minus our empty row, and then we will do absolute. Absolute basically does is that if it's negative it turns to positive, and if it's positive it keeps positive. So we will never get any value which is lower, which is negative basically. And we need to add this with absolute of clicked column minus empty column. So again, let's get the clicked row, clicked index and then index to column. Let's get empty and then let's do index minus column. After this, let's do a negative of clicked index and empty index row column number. And then obviously we'll do absolute because we don't want any negative values. And always in produce we add it. So if we do add, let's move it forward. If you want, you could convert it into a function. I'm just going to do it directly. And then we basically have to check if it's equal to 1. So if we do equal to 1, we will know that it is one slot apart. Let's do branch. Let's drag this. And you know what? Let's actually do is let's print it. So let's do print string just to show you numbers. Let's disconnect this for time being. Like this. Now if I play in my version, I would be able to click it, but maybe for you guys it would not be possible to click it. So in your version you might not be able to click it, but again you could see, I'll explain why I'm able to click on these widgets. But if you look at the top left, you could see it says 1 1 1 for 3 of them. If I click on this one, it says 2 2. If I click here, it says 3 2 3. So how many slots it is further, you can actually kind of get it. You could see this one is 2, but this one is 1 1 1, which means that whenever one, if it is 1, whenever the clicked one is 1, we basically are able to move it. If it's not, we will not move it. Now another thing is, like, how am I able to interact with my widget which is in the world? Because usually you would not be able to interact with it if you're not using, if you're not making the widget on your screen. So how am I able to interact with it? Well, it's very basic. Let me show you my player character. In my player character, you could see this one. I've added a widget interaction module. So if you add in your widget interaction, you will be able to create interaction events as if you're doing mouse clicks or anything else. So for example, when I press F, I'm taking my widget interaction, and searching for press pointer key like this, and then I'm doing left click. But when you click your mouse, you also have to leave your button. So you cannot just do press. Press basically means like you're clicking, but you're not leaving your finger. So you also need to do is, you need to take this and do release pointer key, and which one, like left click. So first it's like clicking, and then it's doing it's leaving it. And also I've set this to center screen. Okay, so that's like multiple option. If you want to do with mouse, if you want to do center screen, if you want to do word, there are multiple ways to do it. There are also videos on it explaining it in much more detail. But basically this widget interaction allows you to interact with the widget which is on the world, basically in the world, just like placed in the world like this. And obviously you could also do stuff like press key, and this would allow you to do some keyboard keys too. So that's all I'm doing in here. When I press F, I'm pressing the left key and then releasing the left mouse key. And then I've set this to center screen, and I've also set the show debug to be true like this, which is why I'm able to show you this red dot. You could say it shows red dot when I get close to this one. And you could also change how much distance you want it to. Okay, so that's how I'm able to click on it. But once we have done it, we will do, is it equal to 1? Let's connect it back to the branch. I'm also going to just put this like this so that we know which formula we used. If it is equal to 1, then only we need to do something. If it's not, we are basically going to do nothing. So here's what we need to do. We need to move this. Let's say if I press 0, we need to move this around here, which means that the order index would also change. So this order index is 0, right? So it will turn to 0 1 2 3. It will turn to 3. We also need to move it from this grid slot to this grid slot. And then we also need to make sure that the empty grid index is now changing to this one. So we need to like swap the values from here. So let's do that. And how can we do that? Let's see. So for example, if I take my grid puzzle and if I do get child at, this one would not work directly because I'll explain in a bit, but we can actually go and we need to actually get the slot for this one. Okay, so get slot as a grid slot. Okay, we cannot just get the child, we need to get which slot it is, and then we can basically do set row, and then we can do set column. Okay, so we can actually set which column and which row we want this slot to change now. Now you might be like, okay, so how about we just take our clicked index and add it in here? Well, this would not work, and the reason for that is, let me show by adding my, let's see, by adding my images back in here. So not this one, where is it? There. Okay, so I'm adding it in the grid puzzle right now. Okay, so let me make few more. Now you would be like, okay, the 0 is in 0, the index 1 is at 1, index 2 is at 2, but that doesn't mean that it will be at the correct location, because the index in here doesn't really mean that it's in the right what you call row or column, because I can also make this be like this. Okay, so you could see that this one is index 0, this one is index 1, this one is index 2, obviously, right? 0 1 2 3 4 like this. So you might be like, okay, this one should be around here, right? But it doesn't work that way when we are using grid. So if I do, let's say, get grid get child at index 1, you might think that it's around here, but actually in this case the index 1, which is this one, is around here. So it's not going to work that way, because index and which row and column it is completely different. So you could say it's row 1 and column 1 in here, so we don't want that. So how can we get which index it is in? Well, for that, to get the index, we will actually take this, and what we'll do is we will do get child index, and then we'll take our clicked image and add it around here and return this. Also make sure this one to be connected. What this basically would do is we'll take our clicked image and we'll get which index it is in, and then we'll basically do the get child at that index. So that way it doesn't matter which index it is in, we will basically get that particular widget slot always, and we'll do slot as grid slot. Now we need to set the row and column, which is very simple. We need to simply move the clicked image to the empty grid slot. So we have the empty image index like this. We basically need to turn this into index to row. Let's add this here. Let's copy this and let's do index to column. So before moving forward, let's test it. So let's do a play and let's see what would happen. So if I click around here, nothing happens. But if I click here, it moved, but you could see it still says 0. But our order index should now be updated, right? It should be 0 1 2 3. So now if I click here, you could see I'm still able to move it because the order index and the empty grid index is not changed. So let's go back to our grid puzzle, and let's check our image, because I don't remember if I created the event. No. So let's create an event in here, and this event would be called update order index. Okay, update order index. So let's get an order index, and then let's add it around here like this. And after this, we will also set our debug text to be order index. So like this. Okay. So update order index, and we'll basically set our text bug to the new order index. Let's first see if it changes. Nope, it still didn't change. Let's see why. Because we are never running this event. So around here, when it is true, we'll check our clicked image, and we'll tell the clicked image to update its order index. Which one should be the order index? New one. It should be the empty one, because now it's moved to the empty one. Okay, so let's do and see. Yeah, it worked, but it still would not be able to, it would not work perfectly yet, because after we have set the order index in the clicked image, we also need to update our empty image index, because now the empty slot is completely different, right? So we'll take our empty image index and we will set this to the clicked index, because the clicked index moved to the empty one. So obviously the wherever we clicked, it should be the empty one. So let's do clicked index. So now the empty index is the clicked index. So let's see this. So if I do 0, you could say it went to 3 like this, but now the empty index is 0. So you could see if I press 4, nothing happens, but if I click here, it keeps changing. It allows me to keep changing like this. And you can see it moves perfectly without any issues. Now we need to make sure that we can actually have a win condition. So how do we know the win condition? Well, remember we actually have a correct index that we made previously, and all we need to do is, whenever we are updating the order index, we need to check if our correct index and order index are equal to. So we have, if the order index is correct is equal to correct index, it means that it's at the right slot. Let's do a branch and let's create a variable in here called correct question mark. It's going to be boolean. Let's remove the branch. Actually, we can just connect directly like this. So every time the order index is updated, it will also check if it's equal to this and check if it's correct. And there's one more thing you need to do. So make sure to copy this, and at the start, we will actually add it around here once more. And the reason for this is we need to check if the slot is already in the correct index or not. So for example, let's say that this 5 slot is already at the right location. Whenever we start playing the game, it's already at the right location. Then let's say we play the game and we never touched this. So we never touched this and we moved it and we solved the puzzle. Maybe you want to create like a very easy puzzle. Okay, then we never touched it, so it will never be able to see if it's correct or not if we don't do it by default. So if you don't add it by default, we are never doing update index, because remember the update order index only runs when we are switching something. You could see whenever we are switching something when it is clicked. Okay, this is only running when we have clicked it. You could see move image. So there could be puzzles where you never touch a slot. Okay, which is why when we set the image data, we basically check if it's if the correct index is equal to order index, and then we set it as default, like true by default, not true by default, I think set correct if in right location by default. Okay, I think this would help you to remember what it does, because there would be times where you would never be clicking that image, so you don't want to wait for this update order index. And here we have this section. Now let's create another event in our grid puzzle, and we'll do is check if correct or something, like check if all correct, or you could even write like check if solved. How do we do it? Well, remember we actually stored this as array whenever we created this our image widgets. We stored it in here. We'll do for each loop with break. Let's execute it and we'll check if it is if correct is equal to true. Let's do branch and let's do like this, and we could do like solved question mark like this in here. And if this is true, we will set this to true. If it's false, we will set this to false. But here's another thing, we can actually connect this to break. Why? Because if one of it is not so, if one of it is incorrect, we don't need to check again and again for every one of them, right? So because for loop, what it does is that it will check the first one and see if the boolean in here is true. Then it will check this. If then it will check this. Then it will go here, go here, go here, go here, go here, like this, right? And when all of them are correct, then we can say that it is solved. But let's say that this one, like number 2, is at the wrong location. So it will do this, it will check this, it's correct, it will check this, it's correct, it will do this and be like, oh, this is not in correct location. So there is no reason for us to check the rest of it, because one of it is already not in right location. So we can basically break the loop and stop it right there. So we can break the loop directly if even one of it is if one of it is like not in right location. That way we can make it a little performative, and again the loop is like fast, it's not like way too big, so it's okay to do loop in here. And then on completed, we will check our solved, and let's go to our this section and let's create a text once. Okay, let's add a text in our canvas slot, in center, txt result, size to content. Let's move it a bit up like this. It's way too up. Okay, so this one would basically, we can use this as a debug. Let's do branch. Yeah, branch. If it's true, we can take our text result, set text true, and do like you win. You win. Okay. So if every loop is correct, it will do true, 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 true. And once it finishes every loop, it runs completed. And when it's false, it will basically break it, then it will go to completed, and false has nothing. So even when it breaks, it still runs completed. Even if it finishes, it will do this. But we need to run this event. Now, I don't think you should add it around here, because this needs to, let's say you run this code update order index, and then this one doesn't really finishes in time. So what you could do is, I like to add it around here. Like we take our reference of our grid puzzle or the manager, and here we'll do check if solved, because I want this event to run after all of this is finished. Okay, maybe if you do it directly in here, which is like after moving images, maybe this would not update in time. Maybe, I'm not sure, which is why I just did it around here. So once it's updated, once this boolean is like changed, then we check if it's solved. Maybe you add a small delay in here if you want, and then this event basically runs to check if it's solved. Okay, if I do play, let's do play ff, you could say turn to you win. Okay, you win. Let's just do, okay, you win. So let me show how to create a puzzle now, because I think most stuff is done. But how do we create a puzzle that's solvable? Because I read that not every randomization is solvable. So you cannot just randomize the cards or the slots and hope that it is solvable. You have to do a specific layout. So how can we do that? So it's very easy. First thing first, let's go to our image and turn this into, let me see, not this. So I'm going to go in here and I want to now debug my correct index. So I don't want to see my order index, I want to see the correct index. And obviously it would be correct because it's already in the right location, right? Now make sure to open your notepad. One issue that I did was, even though I'm setting this to show debug test as not order, like this one, I'm actually doing on update index. I'm basically doing this, which is like we're changing the text to the order index. So even though it is set like this, if I move it, it's changing. You see, it should not be changing. So it should not be changing. So one stupid stuff that I did was, let's remove this, and we are already having show debug text. So why not just use that show debug text like this. And instead of doing this order like this, I'm going to remove this and promote this to a variable and do show debug, show, let's do debug order index question mark. Okay, like this. And all we do basically is run this show debug text around here without providing this. And now if we change this, now right now it's true, right? So if I do true, you could say it's now going to update it like this. And if I turn this to false, it's going to show the correct index, and you could say it does not update it. So it still says 4, 7, 6, 8, 6 like this. Okay, so right now what we need to do is we need to make sure that this is false, because I want to show correct index. I don't want to show the order index, because order index changes every time, but correct index is going to be same. So let's now learn how we can create our own puzzle. Okay, so first of all, this is now set to correct index, right? You could see it's now showing correct index. If I do play, you should first write which index is now missing. So it's 3. So right now the third slot is empty. Okay, and it's already also the correct index right now, because obviously everything is in like order. So the third index is now missing. Let's write this. Now what you need to do is you need to go and shuffle everything like however you wish to. I think this one is more than enough for me. Maybe do this much there. And now we need to first type the numbers that we see. And remember, these are correct index. 0, 2, 5, 4, 7, 1, 6, blank, 8. Let's do space. And now we need to check which slot is empty. So the index of the slot, not the correct index, okay? The order index. So let's do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 7th slot is now empty. Okay, so in the 7th slot we need to add the third number, so the third correct index, the one that was written here. So this one would be our new order, and 7 should be our empty index, so that it is solvable. So let's do that. Let's go to our WBP grid puzzle. Let's go in here and let's go to our ST image data. Now remember that in here what happens is that when we are doing loop, so when we are doing our loop, we are basically checking these images. Where is it? So whatever is in the 0 index, it gets added at the first one. 1 gets added, 2 gets added, and it goes forward, right? So what we need to do is we need to change the order to this one, 0, 2, 4, 5, 4. We need to change our order to this one. I accidentally typed like wrong in here, so I checked my recording and found that I did like one extra number here. So make sure to write the number perfectly, else it would be a bit problem when solving. So again, we have this number, right? So all we need to do is we need to go into the image data, and I'm just going to open everything. And based on the correct index, we have to move this. So we want 0, 2. So 0, 2, 5, 4. Let's do 5, 4, 7, 1. So let's see, 0, 2, 5, 4, 7, 1, 6, 3, 8. Now you might be like, okay, is it done? Well, no, actually, because remember, when we shuffled everything, our 7th slot was empty. Okay, so we need to go back in here and update our empty grid index or empty image index to 7. So after shuffling, this is how it was looking, right? And remember, our third correct index was missing. And in here you could also see that our third image index, so there is no 3 number in here, is missing. So this is how you actually create your puzzle. I'm going to try solving this. Let's hope I can solve it. I'll just uh, fast forward it if it takes too much time. Okay, you could see it says you win. I'm going to try solving again. So it's 6, 7, 8. It's 0, 1, 2. You could see it says you win. Let's confirm it again by checking this text to see if it's not bugging. Yeah, you could see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it works perfectly. And you could also make it very easily, like 25. So for example, if you turn this into total grid size to 25, and then also you need to make sure the total columns, where is it, total column numbers is now 5, and if you do play, you basically get 5 by 5. Okay, so that's how easy it is to make this. And yeah, hope this video helped. Thanks for watching. Check out my website and Patreon, and goodbye.